New York billionaires are running scared. Donald Trump can't handle constitutional amendments, and tech companies are taking over the military. My name is Jovan Bradley, and this is the Weekly Dump. To the Weekly Dump, your number 2 source for your number 1 news. It is Sunday, June 29th. And I'm in the studio today with producer Steve, technical director Chris, and PA Autumn. And we are here, we're chilling, we're hanging out, we're having fun. I hope you guys are happy to be here. I'm happy you're here. We have so much to talk about today, but I do want to let you guys know this is our second episode. So if things happen to go a little hiccupy, if there are some mess ups, you don't blame me. You don't blame Steve. You don't blame Chris. You don't blame Autumn. You blame the Republicans. That's who you blame. That's who did it, okay? I'm just throwing that out in a nutshell. This is the Weekly Dump. The Weekly Dump is a live discussion / news / react / show. And today, last week, we did just news. Today, we're going to do news and discussions. So after the break, after we do the news after the break, you guys will have the ability to call in and talk to me about anything we talked about today. Pick up the phones. The phone number will be on the screen at that point. I didn't get a graphic for the phone number to be. Oh, use that lower third. Put the phone number there for me, Steve. Thank you. So I hope you guys are having a good day. It has been a very interesting week, especially when we look at news. What I want you guys to do is I want you to go and follow Red Mirror Media on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, follow us on everything that we have, because we're going to need your help to get Red Mirror to where it needs to be so we can get sponsors so that we can have the show going, things like that, okay? I need your help, chat, so please do that. I actually have to put something up here. Give me a second. I'm stalling for time. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into it today. We have, like I said, a lot of stuff to go over, bro. We have so much to talk about. So we're going to just, we're going to hop right into news, okay? So I hope you guys are ready, because our first story tonight involves the U.S. military, tech billionaires, and nationwide surveillance. And if you think those three things should never be in the same sentence together, I've got worse news for you than when Eric Stoltz was replaced by Michael J. Fox 5 weeks into filming Back to the Future. And before we continue, producer Steve and I had an argument over whether or not this is a funny joke. So we currently have a poll up on our Instagram page, Red Mirror Media. So I want you, if you're listening, to go and vote on whether or not my Eric Stoltz joke was actually funny. And I want you to know that this is the only thing currently posted on our Instagram. This debate is so important. It was our first ever story post. So go now and prove once and for all that random obscure pop culture references are in fact the bee's knees. Anyway, The U.S. Army began a new program headed by Army Chief of Staff General Randy George, a man who looks like every evil Army general in every movie about an evil Army general, called Detachment 201. And no, that is not a clever title for a gritty apocalyptic reboot of the hit Nickelodeon teen drama Zoe 101, starring early aughts icon Jamie Lynn Spears. So what exactly is Detachment 201? Well, according to the Chief of Staff spokesperson, Colonel Dave Butler, it's being created to, quote, bring in tech innovation executives and leaders to help the Army on broader conceptual things like talent management, which is a pretty shitty way to say we want more tech bros in the military. In fact, as of Wednesday, the U.S. Army has already received close to 150 resumes from big tech hopefuls who I assume believe they were signing up for the newest season of Fortnite. AI Darth Vader isn't the only thing coming in hot these days, if you know what I mean. Now, the U.S. Army has already directly commissioned 4 big tech executives from Palantir, Meta, OpenAI, and Thinking Machine Labs, all of whom have officially been sworn into the reserves as lieutenant colonels. Now, to be fair, lieutenant colonel positions are often given to people with extensive knowledge on specific fields, like doctors, lawyers, or my grandmother telling me not to shower in a thunderstorm because lightning will strike our water tank and shoot up through our stream into my pee hole. But what matters most here is that these new lieutenant colonels are it's about what they bring to the table and whether their knowledge will help us or plunge us deeper into the surveillance state that we already occupy. First up, Shyam Sankar, Chief Technology Officer of Palantir Technologies. Palantir, by the way, is a company that literally develops AI tools to help with mass surveillance. On their website, they claim their platform are used throughout the public, private, and nonprofit sectors to help organizations quickly implement solutions to the hardest problems they face, which is corpo speak for help U.S. government literally spy on you. Sankar also wrote a literal manifesto called the Defense Reformation, which, trust me, is as batshit insane as you're thinking it is. It's filled with anti-communist propaganda and calls for the US to become a much larger global imperial power than it already is. But ultimately, it boils down to a child who's mad that all the biggest military leaders were playing kickball and Sankar was picked last because he was sitting on the bleachers picking his nose instead of working on his laces kick, which, yes, is a real kick style in kickball. Yes, I looked it up for this part of the story. No, I won't be answering any more questions about it. Next up, we have Andrew Bosworth, Meta's Chief Technology Officer. Bosworth was one of the first 15 engineers at Meta back when it was still Facebook, the site you used to get poked by your great-aunt Mildred and run a shitty virtual farm. He also helped develop the Facebook newsfeed, which means you can credit him as the man who helped turn your uncle into a domestic terrorist who tried to join the insurrection at the Capitol, #StopTheSteal. Then there's Kevin Weil, Chief Product Officer at OpenAI, formerly a leader at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Weil has a physics degree from Harvard, so yes, even though he's absolutely smart enough to know better, he still chose a career making addictive social media platforms. It's like being a brilliant chef who only makes county fair funnel cakes sprinkled with cocaine. And finally, Bob McGrew, who left OpenAI in September as Chief Research Officer. He was the second engineer at Palantir, where he built and shipped products for the intelligence community. So his resume basically reads, made spy software, then made AI that could replace human workers. He's like a one-man Skynet starter kit. So essentially, the U.S. military-industrial complex is asking people whose companies made billions off of defense contracts to advise the military on defense contracts. You know, imagine asking a weapons manufacturer to lead peace negotiations or landlords to design housing policy. Imagine asking oil tycoons to write policies on climate change. And we did that during the Bush administration, and look how that turned out. And look, this is all happening because the Trump administration embraced teaming up with venture capital and tech industries, who are now major players in the defense industrial base. The Army Secretary even called it a success if a large prime contractor goes under, because they couldn't start operating more efficiently. So basically, the plan is to disrupt the military-industrial complex by creating a new military-industrial complex run by ChatGPT. But here's what should really bother you. Colonel Dave Butler said the military will try so super hard to ensure that there isn't a conflict of interest between these lieutenant colonels and the companies they still work for. It's like having a vampire who really, really wants to get into your house, but you're not inviting them in. These are the people whose companies have been criticized for privacy violations, misinformations, and helping authoritarian governments gain power. In fact, Bosworth, the guy who looks like a less fun version of Stanley Tucci, once wrote an internal memo for Facebook titled The Ugly Truth, arguing that connecting people was paramount, even if the way they were being connected could somehow aid terrorist attacks. Which is so batshit insane that this man is now advising the US military. There's something deeply unsettling about a system where the people who helped create our current information warfare hellscape are now being asked to militarize it further, all while they keep their billion-dollar stakes in defense. At the end of the day, when Silicon Valley's finest are playing soldier with their hands firmly in the defense cookie jar, the only thing truly being disrupted is our ability to pretend this isn't exactly what military-industrial complex corruption looks like in the 21st century. Now listen, people. I know, and you know, and I know, and you know that this all happens every day, right? I know it. Steve knows it. Chris knows it. Autumn knows it. But what are we going to do? Are we going to allow the fascists to just like imagine this is your butthole and this is the military industrial complex, and just somebody clip that. Don't clip that. Anyway, next up, Donald Trump has decided it's within his right as Supreme Leader of the United States to pull down his pants and take as many fresh hot dumps on the Constitution as he can. The Supreme Court has also decided it's within their right to take the 14th Amendment and use it to figuratively, and maybe even literally, wipe his orange-crusted Cheeto ass. On Friday, the Supreme Court gave Trump a partial win in court by a vote of 6-3. They ruled in favor of the Trump administration by declaring that district or lower court judges cannot use injunctions to universally stop federal orders. Now, for those unaware, an injunction is a ruling handed down by a judge that states a party must either do a specific action or refrain from doing a specific action. Now, historically, injunctions have been used for decades, with early uses of injunctions dating back to the New Deal, when courts used them to stop specific New Deal legislation. Universal injunctions, however, which affect the entire nation rather than the individual parties, first emerged in the 1960s, alongside other cultural phenomena like the Beatles and Woodstock, and the inexplicably popular trend of driving convertibles with the tops up, a mystery that our research team over here at the Weekly Dump has been unable to solve despite exhaustive investigation. Now, in the 1968 Supreme Court case of Flast v. Cohen, the Supreme Court stated that, quote, injunctive relief. Sorry, Adam, you gotta go back up to that real quick. I can't see it. Technical difficulties, everybody be quiet. Don't judge me. Quote, injunctive relief sought by appealants extends to any program that would have the unconstitutional features alleged in the complaint. And since this ruling, courts have been using injunctions to strike down presidential orders or legislative action that they deem unconstitutional, a practice that has largely been seen as a good thing, affecting both Democratic and Republican administrations. Obama received 20 injunctions during his 2 terms in office. And because he can't let a black man beat him, Trump decided to up the ante with a record 55 injunctions being issued in his first term, 20 of those being issued in his first year alone. If injunctions were like basketball, Trump would be hitting the equivalent of a LeBron James up in this bitch. Now, with the removal of universal injunctions, this is going to make any challenge in court about whether or not a law is unconstitutional a lot harder. In fact, it means that if you want to challenge that something is violating your constitutional rights, you'll need to do it individually. And just because you win your case, it doesn't mean that it will count for everyone. The law can still be enforced on anyone, anywhere else in the country, unless they too take the law to court and win their case, or the lawsuit is filed as a class action case, bringing in many plaintiffs into one ruling. So we come now to why this court decision is important. Well, all of this comes down to an executive order Trump signed on January 20th, titled Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship, and it is exactly as unhinged as it sounds. Trump's order would effectively stop giving citizenship to children born in the United States if one or both parents are not either A, U.S. citizens, or 2, lawful permanent residents of the United States. Basically turning the 14th Amendment into the equivalent of an IOU from your friend who, despite always having money for alcohol, can never seem to pay you back when it comes time to paying for dinner. Now, the decision by the courts doesn't affect the current challenges Trump's executive order will still face. And in fact, the Supreme Court can still determine that the order is unconstitutional and stop it from going into effect. Whether that's going to happen at this point is anyone's guess. It's like a bad game of Guess Who, where the only discerning feature of every character is rampant fascism. Trump called the decision a huge win for the Constitution, which is Republican speak for, we can keep going after brown kids. Justice Sonia Sotomayor wasn't buying any of it, saying the decision was, quote, an open invitation for the government to bypass the Constitution, end quote. Bottom line, everything goes back to lower courts, the policy stays blocked for another month, and we get to keep watching lawyers argue about whether being born in America actually makes you an American. Now, maybe, this is just me, okay? Obviously, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but maybe it's a bad thing that we make it be known that being born in America doesn't make you American unless you have American parents. I don't know why we're using some level of blood libel to tell us that Americans are Americans. It doesn't make sense. And one of the biggest things that is being said by the right is, hey, the reason why it's unconstitutional is this amendment was only written for slaves. At the time it was written, it was just for slaves, guys, so we can't change that meaning, which is actually cracked out of the mind of every conservative, because part of the Supreme Court and affirming amendments is to extrapolate what they would mean now. So a big thing that they do is they take the Second Amendment and they go, well, guys, I know it says for the purpose of a well-regulated militia. I know at the time the Second Amendment was written, they had muskets. I know all of this, but guys, listen to me here. Please hear me on this. The Second Amendment is for everyone. It's for now. I should be able to own a fucking rocket launcher if I want to. It's stupid. You know it's stupid. I know it's stupid. Steve knows it's stupid. Chris knows it's stupid. Autumn knows it's stupid. But here we are again, allowing fascism to sort of fist fuck all of us. I don't know what else to say. We're back to fists up the butt. I don't know why that's the metaphor I keep going with, but here we are. Now, our final story tonight involves the man, the myth, the legend himself.
In these dark times, I know that it is harder than ever to keep faith in our democracy. It has been attacked by billionaires and their big spending, by elected officials who care more about self-enrichment than the public trust, and by authoritarian leaders who rule through fear.
On Tuesday, Zohran Mamdani, a 33-year-old Muslim Democratic Socialist, defeated New York State heavyweight sexual harassment champion and former governor Andrew Cuomo in New York City's Democratic primary race for mayor. Now, before we continue, let me be clear about something. This is a story about a guy who wants to make buses free, provide New Yorkers with free childcare, and create low-income city-run grocery stores to combat food deserts and inflation, not start a communist revolution. But apparently, in today's political climate, those two things are functionally identical, which explains why billionaire bank backers of Andrew Cuomo are in panic mode, with some even threatening to leave the nation's largest city. Yes, you heard that right. Billionaires are threatening to leave New York because someone wants to make it easier for regular people to afford to live. If I had known the best way to get rid of billionaires is to just try to help poor people, I would have taken Elon Musk to a soup kitchen years ago. Now, corporate media would like you to believe that Mamdani is just a failed rap artist who just stumbled to the top of New York City politics. But he's a college graduate who devoted his early career to foreclosure prevention, housing counseling in Queens. And despite all of this, they just like to paint him as a man who failed at music even though he helped create this absolute banger.
Go ahead, make a rap for your nanny. It's a rap. Get the guap, spin the rack on your nanny. Spin the rack. Come through, give a dab to your nanny. If you really feeling good, spin a track for your nanny.
Whew. But remember, he literally spent his early career fighting big banks that were trying to kick people out of their homes. This man is for the working class the same way I'm for that little piece of cheese that gets left on the wrapper of your double cheeseburger after the cheese is melted. I could go on and on about what led us up to this moment, but what I really want to focus on is the future and Mamdani's actual policies, because this is where things get spicy. His mayoral campaign is based on lowering the cost of living. His signature promises a rent freeze on stabilized units, free city buses and childcare, those city-run grocery stores I mentioned earlier, and building up to 200,000 affordable units of housing within the next 10 years. Hang on, hold on. Free buses, city-owned grocery stores. I mean, what's next? Libraries that lend books for free? I mean, hold on. Okay, yeah. Okay, my producer is telling me we still have those currently, and it's gone. Mamdani's platform is also proposing a new minimum wage law that would raise the wage floor for jobs in the city to $30 an hour by 2030, which would then be automatically increased based on changes in the cost of living. But Jovan, yes, MAGA Jovan, how the hell does he plan to pay for all this free food and affordable housing and increased equality of life for the working class? Well, now for that, let's listen to the man himself.
And we put forward a plan to pay for these and more to start Trump-proofing our city through two major revenue streams. Increasing the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, that raises $5 billion, and increasing income taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million or more a year by 2%. Both of these things, after they come to fruition, you're still paying less than you did before Trump.
And just remember that taxing the rich, we scoff at this very reasonable, very doable plan that everyone knows would work, but no one's had the balls to implement. Now, listen to what he said. 2% of 1 million is $20,000. $20,000 to a millionaire is like taking a small cup of water out of a lake. It is a rounding error. So, of course, the billionaire piss babies are big mad because nothing reveals the true character of America's ultra wealthy quite like the prospect of paying slightly higher taxes. Catherine Wild, who heads the pro-corporate organization Partnership for New York City, said a Zohran victory would make her terrified. Terrified. Not concerned, not worried, terrified. John Katsimatidis, the CEO of grocery chain Gristedes, pause. I had a stroke. CEO of grocery chain Castamatidis referenced the 183-day rule, a rule that, for tax purposes, allows you to become a resident of a state if you spend 183 days in that state. He referenced this in conversation with the Free Press, in which he stated that if Mamdani wins, and it does in fact push to open low-cost grocery stores, then he plans to go to the Promised Land. And I swear, nothing will prepare you for where the Promised Land was. All right, now if you guess California, you'd be wrong. If you guess Florida, you'd be wrong. If you guess Florida again, you're right the second time and the first time, because yes, the Promised Land he's speaking about is fucking Florida. Hedge fund magnate Bill Ackman said he woke up Wednesday a bit depressed by Mamdani's victory. But here's my favorite part. Lawrence Summers, the former Treasury Secretary and president of Harvard University, said, and I quote, "I am profoundly alarmed about the future of the DNC and the country by yesterday's New York City anointment of a candidate who failed to disavow globalize the Antifada slogan and advocated Trotskyite economic policies." Trotskyite. He said Trotskyite. That's like calling someone a Whig extremist or a radical federalist. Summers just reached so far back into the communist panic playbook that he pulled out a century-old reference. Now, it's not as if Mamdani proposed an ultra-wealthy gulag where we throw all the billionaires and make them fight over the last Labubu doll. He's advocating for pretty middle-of-the-road policies that, if enacted, will significantly boost the working class of New York City economically. Now, the good news. Regular folks aren't swayed by the blubbering babble of the billionaire bourgeoisie, bawling over paying their fair share. So, of course, in true American fashion, they have to resort to good old Islamophobia, either by passive-aggressive implication or straight-up hurling baseless accusations of anti-Semitism. Let's take a look.
Now, critics have also brought up your stance on Israel, and Israel usually isn't a topic for a mayoral race, but...
Let's talk about Israel and Palestine.
Does the state of Israel have the right to exist? Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, is that there are many people in New York, even people who would support your candidacy otherwise.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel?
The answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
Do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
Baby world have also absolutely lost their minds about Mamdani's win. Which we'll watch the video of that in a second.
Mamdani, a Muslim socialist who's only been a citizen for 7 years. That's a sleeper cell, folks.
Yeah, no kidding. Gosh.
I'm joking. I'm not!
Some New York business leaders are very scared. Some Jews in New York are very scared that this...
You said it best. He wants to globalize the intifada. And by the way, that just means globalized terrorism. One that will not make it a safe place for Jews, not a safe place increasingly, I think, for Western values and potentially Christians.
This guy, if given the keys to the castle, will literally burn down New York City.
And like this guy's a radical Marxist. Okay, he has Islamic like supremacist background, all right? And imagine telling the families of 9/11, 24 years later, that this guy, this like jihadi-backed freaking Marxist, is going to get, it looks like he's going to get elected. And
in addition to that, a Cuomo-funded super PAC also created this image, which clearly uses the scary terrorist filter to darken and lengthen Mamdani's facial hair and skin color. Now, Mamdani has been open about the direct and personal hate he has received as a result of this corporate billionaire-backed Democratic smear campaign. Quote, I get messages that say the only good Muslim is a dead Muslim, end quote. Death threats. He's getting death threats, but sure, he's the one spreading hate. Despite the efforts of the neoliberal Democratic coalition, Mamdani ran a masterful campaign and is now the presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party in the New York City mayoral general election, where he will undoubtedly beat Eric Adams, if Adams can pull his lips away from Trump's asshole long enough to run his own campaign, and Curtis Silva, who's 71 years old and looks like he's doing a closet Camby cosplay. Look, I don't know if Zohran Mamdani will be a good mayor. Maybe city-owned grocery stores won't be sustainable. Maybe a $30 minimum wage will bankrupt small businesses. Maybe free buses will cause the collapse of Western civilization. Maybe Eric Stoltz will be cast in a Back to the Future reboot. I don't know. But here's what I do know. If your political system is so broken that making buses free and grocery stores affordable causes a crisis of identity among the ultra-wealthy, maybe the problem isn't the buses and the groceries. Maybe the problem is that a handful of billionaires have too much power in the first place. Now listen, we are going to take a quick 5-minute break here on the show, or a 10-minute break, I'm so sorry. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break. What you're going to watch over those 10 minutes is you are going to watch a little clip from an upcoming episode of the Critical Mass podcast, which is a podcast that we're starting here at Red Mirror. So you're going to watch a little clip of that, and then we'll be back after the break for discussions and debates. So we'll be back very soon.
You know, I've been asked many times over the years, is Gene gay? Is he ever going to come out? And, you know, the way I see it personally, just as someone who grew up gay, Gene is, he is 11 years old. I didn't know I was gay at 11 years old. I know that this kid isn't real. I know Gene is not a real person, and we could be like, of course he's gay. But should that ever happen, should that storyline ever happen, I want it to come organically, not from just somebody online going, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, he was gay all along. That's just like bloody J.K. Rowling and Dumbledore. Guys, he was gay.
He was gay all along, and I was also
all along. And
transphobic
if you missed it, that's your fault, right? No, if Gene should ever come out, you know, then I want that to happen organically and genuinely for him. And there'll be absolutely no question, of course, that his family would support him if he did. But and same with Bob. Like, you know, there is episodes where Bob is very openly.
Bob very much has a little. He's definitely got some bi tendencies.
Absolutely,
we noticed that 100%.
I fully believe it. I think of him as bisexual personally. I know he's of course he's been married to Linda for years and they have kids, but it doesn't stop someone being bisexual. So to me, Bob is bisexual, and it's always a little joy when we get to throw little jokes in that like allude to that a little bit more.
Yeah,
because that's one of the funny things that come up on my comments when I post anything remotely queer with a show. People are like, how dare you post this show? I'm never watching the show again. It's like, were you watching it at all?
Yeah, did you watch? You don't remember the episode long flirtation with the turkey guy years ago? Like, this isn't new.
It's not at all.
You know, I think it's just the backlash. I mean, so often, you know, like I said earlier, the verbiage "go woke, go broke" is so prevalent, even though half the things that make money are the woke things, right?
Barbie.
I don't understand it, and it's frustrating. Oftentimes, I equate it to just the lack of media literacy that seems to exist heavily on the right. And we'll get more into, you know, how like your takes on everything. Honestly, I'd love, you know, only say what you can say. I don't want you to say anything that can, you know, you are a much bigger public figure than I. But like, you know, it's watching the country go to this side where they're like, well, everything we want only media that shows straight white families. We don't want any diversification. We don't want any characters who are black or queer or immigrants. We don't want, it's just like, how do you expect to tell relevant stories? How do you expect to you think we can all relate to the Full Houses and the
right?
What do you want us to do?
I know, I fully know what you mean. I mean, the shows that have broken through, that do have those messages, like Schitt's Creek, like that kind, like the show like that, or even like Will and Grace from years ago. I really feel like they were. Maybe I'm just romanticizing the time of when I was watching them too much. I don't know, but I really felt like they were getting queer storylines out there to households that may not have heard it before. But they've obviously now ended since then, and now under this administration, I'm struggling to think of a single show that's really doing that on primetime TV,
and one that is like that has that popularity, especially
one that has that, exactly like animation. I feel like sometimes with animation you can, I think, get away with it. Makes it sound like I'm cheapening the whole medium, but you can be cheekier with animation and try and slip those messages in more. Like Solar Opposites, for example. I don't know if you watch Solar Opposites, but that show I think is just so funny and it makes me giggle so much. But ultimately, like most of the time, those two main characters in that show are very gay.
Like, they are like some of the episodes are just about them having marital spats.
Right. So like I'm like, you're able to sneak this in here. And maybe because it's animation and because they're aliens, like it washes over people's heads. I don't know. But I'm glad that's why there are at least humans in Bob. So if we do tackle these things, they're relatable in that sense. And I would love to one day have a show that just is the gayest thing on earth and see if we can change anyone's minds and hearts who would be open to it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the show. We are now in our beautiful, beautiful call-in time. You're going to notice a call-in number on the screen. That's for both YouTube and Twitch. We're taking all calls, debates, or conversations on the things we've talked about today, and more if you're like, oh, I want to call and debate Jovan. I do want to say we are still eking out some technical difficulties here on the show. It's our second show. That's going to happen. We're also down a crew member today. So like these things happen. It's a live show, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Our call-in screeners are standing by. So if you want to talk to me about anything, it could be about what we talked about today. You could call in to debate me if you want to. If you're like, damn, Jovan, Trump is the best. Damn, I hate trans people. Damn, let me tell you about yourself. Call in now. Call-in lines are open, 914-268-6224. Call-in lines are open. We're going to let the screener take some calls. But I hope you guys have been enjoying like the show today. I really do. I think... What did you think? Okay. What did you think of the news segments the way we have them now? I actually think, Steve, we can add like one more. I actually think we had more time than we thought we did. So we can do more news stories next time. But, you know, tell me what you guys thought. Tell me if you enjoyed it. Tell me all of that. I personally thought I was me and Steve wrote some damn good jokes. Remember, the call line is open. We do have screener right on stream who is going to be screening your calls to make sure you guys can get through to talk to me about whatever you want to talk to me about. Debate me. I think conservatives are idiots. I'm going to say it. I think if you're a conservative, you're kind of stupid. I don't know what to tell you. Let me pour me some water. You have it at your fingertips. This is why when people tell me when they go, well, what if we just, we need to, maybe they haven't researched, so we need to help them come to it. No, you have the exact same information I do. This is what always pisses me off about this. You have the same information I do. You have access. Let me change that. You have access to the same information I have. So why are you having an issue coming to an understanding about these things? I don't fucking know. Shouldn't be that hard. We're going to bring in our first guest today. Maggie is on the line. Maggie, pronouns she, her. Maggie is 41 and wants to talk about representation, specifically representation in Bob's Burgers, which she heard about in our call with, in the clip, which I forgot to mention was with Simon Chong, a supervising director of Bob's Burgers. So let's bring Maggie on and have a quick chat. Hi, Maggie. Can you hear me?
Hello? I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Maggie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm a long time, first time.
Oh, awesome.
No, so you were talking about the representation of Bob's Burgers, and I just wanted to say, maybe it's an age thing, but the first time that I really saw a great, clear representation was Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride from South Park, which I believe won like an award from
I think it was
one
an
of the
Emmy.
peer
Wasn't it
representation.
a date? Didn't that win a daytime Emmy?
That
Not
could be
daytime
it.
Emmy, but they definitely won an Emmy if I'm remembering for that episode.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a ton of like the bros nowadays who feel like they would love South Park. You need to go back and watch those first episodes because
Maggie, I have almost a encyclopedic knowledge of South Park. I watched every episode of South Park like 100 times.
Oh, and are you so excited for Mr. Garrison to be Elon Musk in the new season? Oh,
I haven't been excited. I watch every episode, every special, but I don't think I've been excited about South Park since the season with all the ads. Like their first time they were doing like serialization. Since then, I just don't think the show's been as funny. But we'll see.
Okay,
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, you did.
I'm not too sure, but what do you think, Maggie, about the representation in a show like Bob's Burgers?
Oh, I think it's like you said, it's great because like Marshmallow, the prostitute that Bob loves, like my kids see her and know who she is, but because it's not ever displayed as like a scary thing, it's just a thing. It's part of life.
Well, the fun fact about that, me and Simon discuss Marshmallow a lot on the podcast. So get ready for that. That is hopefully dropping next week. So you guys will get to hear me and Simon talk a bunch about Marshmallow and how they changed Marshmallow for the newer seasons and things like that.
Oh, okay. I may have seen the newer ones, but yeah, I just think it's always good to show just people that are different, but are at the same time just the same like us, just living their life, got bills, got whatever, because that's the reality, I think, and that's why I teach my kids that they're just people.
Yeah.
Just like me. And it's not hard. In fact, my daughter just made her binary, and she corrects me if I use the wrong pronouns. Because it's not hard. She's 10. She knows nothing about like what that, anything else, but she just knows to respect people's pronouns.
Well, I think if you watch me enough, you guys know I think pronouns are a pretty good litmus test on whether or not someone's a good person. I think asking someone their pronouns and seeing their response to that is pretty telling. But Maggie, I want to thank you so much for calling in. We do have some more people on the line, but thank you for calling in and thank you for watching.
Sounds good. We'll talk later.
All right. You have a good one, Maggie. All right, that was Maggie, everybody. That was Maggie. Next, we are going to hear from Corey. Now, Corey's pronouns are he/they. Corey wants to talk about Zohran Mamdani's win, so we're going to open up the line and chat. So let's get connected. Hi, Corey. Can you hear me?
Hello, Jovan.
How's it going for you today, friend?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So you wanted to talk about Zohran Mamdani, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm low-key in love with the man right now.
Same.
Am I crazy for thinking that his win is low-key historic?
I would say it's I would say it's unprecedented. I don't know that I would say historic yet. He still has a long ways to go. I mean, he's up against Adams. He's up against Cuomo is running again under an independent ticket. So he definitely has a uphill battle, but it's unprecedented for how little it's rare that somebody who's running a grassroots campaign can beat somebody with billionaires literally backing them through super PACs. So that is definitely unprecedented. And if you want to call that historic, honestly, I would accept that.
I guess more important to that, he's an out and proud socialist.
Yes.
And I don't think I remember or know of any out and proud socialists who are winning major elections like this.
So winning, you're not going to see many, but it's actually funny.
Yeah.
America used to have a pretty good relationship with like the National Socialist Party, not the National Socialist Parties. Pause, everybody.
Oh, not
Pause.
that one.
Just the Socialist Party of America. Damn, slipped up there. Because there was a man, this was years ago. I can't remember his name. Maybe our crack research team can research it. But he ran for U.S. president under a socialist ticket and got 1 million votes while he was in prison.
Oh, wow.
So Americans used to actually be like a lot more for socialism. And basically, if you describe policies that would be akin to socialism, but you never use the word socialism, Americans are going to pretty much like vibe with that. And I do have the crack research team was on it. It was Eugene V. Debs. He ran on the Socialist Party ticket in 1920, and he got 1 million votes while he was in prison. So it's really McCarthyism that fucked us. McCarthyism and the
Red Scare,
the communist propaganda. I mean, the U.S. Is a communist propaganda machine. And actually, while I have you here, you're gonna do my book recommendation of the week with me, Corey, because this was like the best segue that could ever come. Because our book recommendation of the week is The Fucking Jakarta Method by Vincent Bevins, which, if you want a book that talks about anti-communist policies and influence of the United States imperial core, the Jakarta Method is the way to go. So Corey really just like lined me up. It was beautiful.
Perfect,
Me up.
Because I have.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I have been wanting to ask you about like book recommendations around communism and socialism and stuff like that, especially anything to do with U.S. imperialism. I feel like we need to educate as many people as we can about how fucked up this country is. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize how much bad shit we've done in the past.
Yeah, well, this is like I said, this was a great segue. A U.S. imperial. If you want some information, the book is on the screen. Everybody go and press. If you're watching on your phone, screenshot right now the Jakarta Method. Pick it up from a local bookstore if you can. Don't buy it off of Amazon. Get it from a local bookstore. Support local business. Buy local, steal corporate, as I always say, but never say because we need to try to get sponsors for this show. But yeah, read the Jakarta Method. It's really good. A really good way to do that. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about, Corey?
Yeah, he won. That was amazing. Let's get him elected as soon as possible in New York City. I guess I had a question. You're not aware of any, I guess, laws currently in place that would prevent socialism in this country, are you?
So it depends on, yes, the entirety of the United States legal system is written to basically stop socialism, right? Because socialism, moving on to communism, would be, the abolition of private property and allowing for the means of production to be owned by the proletariat or the working class at whole. Our legal system is just sort of written around that because, right, like theft is the stealing of private property. So like
private property.
We sort of wrote our legal system around the idea that property ownership was a right. Now, I do believe, along with most socialists and communists, that like personal property ownership is a right. Like I can own like this beautiful Weekly Dump mug, which is soon to be available on the Weekly Dump merch store. I can own this mug, and it is my mug. You cannot take my mug. This mug belongs to me. But if I were to take this mug, and let's say this mug became imperative, is that the right word? That means like important to something? Producer Steve is saying yes.
Yeah.
If I were to say this mug became imperative to like the creation of like, I don't know, shoes. I don't know fucking how. Like, I don't know. But let's say that it becomes imperative to the creation of shoes. This now has become private property because I'm using it in the creation of a good or service. Now, even though I may maintain possession of the mug, if this mug was like the best thing at making shoes, it now becomes the collective property of everybody. So let's say I use this mug poorly. I start using it poorly and I use it to produce like 2 shoes a day, even though with this mug I could produce 50 shoes a day. Well, the community is going to come to me and they're going to be like, well, we're taking that mug back, bro. Like, what? Like, give it back. You don't, like, you're using it wrong. And I would be like, I would have to, because I don't own this mug anymore. That's sort of what we would be looking at the ownership or of private property. So right now, our government protects the interests of corporations to privately own all corporations and individuals to privately own everything that has to do with the means of production. It's why your landlord can charge you rent. Whereas what we should be doing is every new house on the market just goes to a family who needs it. But we're not there yet, unfortunately.
So we would have to rewrite some laws to explicitly delineate between personal and private property, and I'll basically ban private property.
Yes, we would very much be going with the systems that indigenous tribes used for centuries before colonization, which is there was no private property ownership. Everyone owned everything. A lake that you can get fresh water out of, everyone owns that lake. A company like Nestle can't buy that lake and then sell you back its water. Think about how crazy that is. I want everybody listening to genuinely think about how crazy this is. You can buy a lake and then sell the water back to people. It's absolutely insane. But Corey, we've been on for a while. I'm going to move on to the next person waiting to waiting to talk.
All right, no problem.
Absolutely. Corey, thank you so much for calling in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, friend.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
Just a reminder, everybody, we do have Red Mirror Media on all platforms. You can find us on Instagram, Red Mirror Media, on X, Red Mirror Media, on TikTok, Red Mirror Media, on YouTube, Red Mirror Media. And just a reminder, once we get the YouTube up to the right amount of subscribers we need, this show will be exclusive to the Red Mirror Media's YouTube page, as well as in the future, we're going to have post-show lives that are exclusive to our Patreon. So you can go to Patreon, Red Mirror Media. You're going to be able to find those there. In fact, the replay of this will not be on Twitch. It will not be on... it will be on my YouTube at some point. But the replaying clips of this are first going to drop on the Red Mirror Patreon, and then they'll be on YouTube later. And some of the beauty of that is we may have some stuff that's a little too risque to post on YouTube later on. So just keep that in mind for everybody listening. Next up, we have Donovan, who does use any and all pronouns. Donovan is calling because they want to talk about geopolitical situations with the West going far right overall. So we're gonna take Donovan's call now, and let's see what Donovan wants to tell us. Hello, Donovan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jovan. It's funny because you already had gone down the path. I didn't even have to, and I should expect no different here. But we were talking about McCarthyism already as I was in the call screen. So the Red Scare, McCarthyism, all the tools of the capitalist class, effectively, right? We're talking intentional miseducation, control of the economic situation of everything, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people are, we hear the effects of propaganda constantly in the education system, where people will talk about every evil thing, every bad thing even, not necessarily evil, just unfortunate bad thing that happened under any socialist or communist attempt.
Mm-hmm.
But they will never assign blame to capitalism for things that happened under capitalism.
It's actually funny because when you ask a capitalist to sort of tell you what's wrong with socialism or communism. They just sort of they relay stuff to you that is also wrong in capitalism. So it's like, oh, well, there's bread lines in socialism. There are bread lines in capitalism.
Yeah, and when I grew up going to the food bank and getting social assistance.
Yeah, so
Right?
it's so funny.
Right? Like, so many people seem to have this idea that capitalism is the perfect system, but they've never criticized it. You know, I've heard you talk about media literacy, and absolutely, right? That we just don't have that critical thinking, that media literacy to go through and go, oh, wait, these are things that are happening everywhere, and what's really causing it.
Yeah, I think a big thing is. Oh, you've got a lot of background noise there. Donovan,
I'm literally walking past a bar. Give me just a second here.
No problem.
I'll jog. I'll jog.
I think one of the things is. Hey,
you can mute me if you need. Sorry.
We're gonna have to mute that on the YouTube replay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Get you DMCA'd.
So yeah, we might. You might just mute until you get a little bit further away from them.
Okay. Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is one of the things. What was that?
So somebody that said bar probably. Sorry,
Okay.
I did not think about the nature of that with the call.
So one of the things that okay, Donovan. That's a little concerning. It sounds like either a cat is dying, or it sounds like something that shouldn't be on YouTube.
Well, welcome to Halifax. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It sounds downtown, where I live. I've doxed the crap out of myself, but that's okay. Everybody knows I'm a commie.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So, what I kept trying to say is one of the things that I wonder is how much people may still have some weird ingrained fears that them speaking out about communist policies, speaking out about socialist governments, things like that, are going to lead to them getting in trouble. You know, I mean, McCarthyism, people were literally thrown in prison for just espousing anything even close to communist rhetoric. So who knows what it truly is at this point, but I mean, it feels right. It feels a little McCarthyist, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, and we've hit a point where the generational success of McCarthyism, really, whether we like it or not, it's been very successful in convincing the working class that we shouldn't unite and we shouldn't own things.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing for me is class solidarity, and what's actually funny is if you talk to rural American Southern Republicans, you're going to hear people who talk much more like socialists than if you were to talk to like a liberal New York, like girl with blue hair partying every night, right? You're going to hear way more. One of them is going to sound way more socialist than the other. And it's interesting the one who's going to, because
I love redneck. Like the term redneck is used derogatively, derisively all the time. And I don't think it should be. Like, it's just rural people. Like, there are so many of them that really get it. And yeah. Trust me, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, right now we're at a crux where hopefully it appears like Mamdani's victory is really opening people's eyes to class consciousness, because they're actively watching the really rich people crash the fuck out. And I'm hoping that that's what we need. I'm hoping that that's the fucking goal in the bin. I keep telling people I'm waiting for that thing that's going to wake up class consciousness in America. I'm shocked it wasn't COVID-19. I genuinely thought that was going to do it. I thought we were all coming together to be like, damn, they don't give a fuck about us. Didn't happen.
So y'all got like $600 one time or something? Wasn't that kind of?
No, we got $1,200 and $600. We got like I got 2 checks. Did we get 3 checks? I
There
don't.
you go.
Whatever it was, it
So-
wasn't enough. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Exactly, right? I voted myself as Canadian. And, like, I am not a Trudeau supporter. But, like, for the opposite reason, a lot of Canadians are.
Yeah.
I don't think he did enough, right? So it was still better than what happened with Biden, you know? But that was seen as communism by people, like, unhinged.
Yeah. No,
But, like,
listen, I agree with you.
yeah. I suspected you would. But, you know, talking about this is still important, I think. And, like, a thing that I found interesting that I learned recently is that Adam Smith believed that rent-seeking was, like, lowly behavior and had no place in his idea of capitalism.
Listen, even if you are the biggest capitalist on the planet, there's some things you just have to agree with. You have to agree that the cost of living is exorbitantly high and has insanely outpaced the price of labor. You have to admit that inflation is destroying the middle class. Grocery
Well, the
prices
middle class
continue to
doesn't exist.
rise. That's true. You can make that argument. Grocery
Middle class
prices.
is a tool of division.
Who knows
Go
what
ahead,
who knows what we're gonna do next? Like I said, I'm hoping Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani. Jesus fuck, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Mamdani ekes out a victory. I think that will give us what we're looking for, but we're gonna have to wait and see. But Donovan, I want to thank you for calling in.
Yeah.
Hopefully you keep watching the show and you have a good rest of your day. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good one. I'll be in chat.
All right, that was Donovan, everybody. We are going to move on to the next guest as we are currently receiving calls. Remember, if you want to call in to debate me, if you think you are smarter than your average Jovan, call in. You're not. Sorry, but you might be. Next up, we got Skip. Skip is going to call in to talk about terror sleeper cells. So let's get Skip up on the line and see what they've got to say. Hello, Skip. How are you doing today?
Howdy, Jovan. It's me again. I spoke with you the other day about technocracy.
Yep, I remember. It was a good call.
Okay. And I appreciate that.
You know what you just made me realize, Skip? This is fucking office hours. You guys have been clamoring for office hours, and I'm like, that literally is what part of, like, half what this is. Damn. You mean maybe I don't have to do them on Fridays? I don't know. Okay. Go ahead, Skip.
Real quick clarification. When I had kind of breezed past it in our conversation, when you had said Star Trek the method or something like that, what were you referring to? Like,
just when I was referring to Star Trek, I was talking about like a society that's become so technologically advanced that they almost have lost the need for labor.
I see. I figured that's what it was. I don't really watch Star Trek yet, so I wanted to appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, of course.
My question was, even though you said check your sources, you have all the information that you're using, I looked into the terror cell claim, and currently I can only find like NBC, BBC, or Jerusalem Post saying, and I'm pretty sure like this is going to be semantics and minutia of how they're saying it, but it seems as though that it's the Trump administration saying that Iran made the threat. And I don't seem to be able to get verification that
Iran made the sleeper cell threat.
Yes, because I've heard a few content creators say, like, mention the sleeper cell, and they're progressive as well. And I tried to ask them to clarify and to verify it, and I think they ignored it or just didn't see it. But I really want to figure this out.
I'm gonna answer this for you in like a really easy, or not easy, in a way that might make me sound uneducated. I don't really care. If you look at America's anti-terrorism responses, you would see how many people a year are arrested or even just like interviewed on like terrorist conspiracy. One thing I will say about the Imperial Corps is they're pretty good at catching that sort of shit. I'm not worried. I don't know how much validity is in this sleeper cell nonsense because, like I said, you have the right calling Mamdani a sleeper cell agent, right? I don't know how much of this current sleeper cell stuff is even if true, over sensationalized, and
right.
And the news, because you have to remember, the news loves a story, right? I don't agree with Donald Trump on much. I do agree that American news media is sort of shit in that, again, they're going to hype and put out stories that are showing more danger than possible, or not even possible, more danger than likely. So I don't hold much validity to the sleeper cell stuff. I've only looked it up very briefly and couldn't find a straightforward answer on where the information was coming from.
Yeah.
But like, again, I think it's sort of, it's just, I think it's fear mongering. And it's very interesting that like we have all this sleeper cell stuff coming out after Trump decides to hit Iran, right?
Yeah.
After he allows Israel to hit Iran, after Trump decides to hit, like what?
This is like 22 years ago.
It's such a weird like what's the word I'm looking for? It's a weird coincidence, right?
Were you alive for 9/11 and the fear mongering that was done for the invasion?
I was in third grade in 9/11.
I was in high school, and I remember happening. I was such a bad person back then. It's a different conversation. But, yeah, the anti-Muslim, basically just basically brown person, because a lot of Sikhs were targeted, a lot of Asians were targeted, and this is with random hate crimes or whatnot, but this seems to be very similar. And I appreciate you giving me the time to ask this question. I'm not trying to freak out about it, but I really don't like it when misinformation goes out there and causes people who would normally think rationally to be scared.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not seeing any reason for people to be afraid. I'm also even not seeing, like, Iran has made statements, at least since the last time I looked, that they were absolutely going to target America, but it was going to be targeting Americans in the Middle East. It seems that Iran's goal is to get America out of the Middle East, and that's their primary push right now. Obviously, that could have changed since the last time. I think I looked that up. The last I looked it up was like on Wednesday. So obviously, they could have put out a statement since then saying they wanted to hit Americans on the mainland. But it seems like they're just going after our military, or they want to go after our military installations and soldiers over there. Now, I don't know.
The verified claim, at least.
Well, that was said on like Iranian television, like news networks and stuff. Again, you know, take everything with a grain of salt, you know.
Right.
But like, personally, I'm not worried about an attack at home. It could happen, obviously, but if it was gonna happen, we've significantly ramped up like our terror watch stuff since then. But if it is going to happen, it's not something we can prepare for anyway, like as citizens. Right. So it'd be like preparing for like I don't know, preparing for an alien, like an attack from a UFO, right? Like there's nothing really we can do if it happens, except make it very clear that like I don't vibe with Trump. I don't like what he's doing. I think Iran should be left alone. They are where they are right now because us in the U.S. and Britain fucked with their leadership years ago. So I don't know. I don't think there's anything to be worried about, but that's just me, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I wasn't sitting here like, oh my god. Like I've had plenty of times doing that, but I just really appreciate the second opinion on it, because it was like, if it was actually verified, then yeah, it would be verified. Then
Yeah,
that's all I'm really asking. I have
to
the
my
same
knowledge,
conclusion
I
that
haven't
you
seen
did.
anything stated by like Department of Homeland Security or anywhere else that there have been verified sleeper cells that have come to light. I could have just missed that announcement, but I haven't seen that from the DHS or no, it would be DHS who would release that. Yeah, I haven't seen anything from DHS on that.
And am I right to have skepticism in in what they put out, like because of the Trump administration, or does their reach not go that far? Are there still good people in office in like DHS or DOJ or whatever?
Listen, I don't necessarily. It's a weird question to answer, right? Because can you be a good person if you're working for the largest imperialist country in the globe and your work helps keep that country exhibiting force and control over the global South?
Right.
I'd say there are definitely people there who are pro-America and who at their core want to keep America safe. Are they good people?
Right, okay.
I don't know. Are any of us?
I didn't mean to say it that way. We can go into ethics later, but yeah. But no, hey, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I appreciate it. Free Palestine, y'all. Appreciate you.
Free Palestine. Thank you so much for calling in, Skip. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We love to hear from Skip over on the page. We are going to give you guys 5 more minutes, and then the lines are going to close. So you only got 5 more minutes to hop on the line. At 8:37, the lines are going to close. I literally was like, what's 5 plus 2? At 8:37, the lines are going to close. I'm going to try to come up with ways for people to know that debates are going to happen. It might be the thing where we stream to regular YouTube and then start like a vertical YouTube stream when it gets close to debate time with one of my normal boards so that people know that they can call in to chat during debate times. But for right now, we're going to keep it going. We've got another person on the line. It looks like we have Tanis calling in, and Tanis, I'm reading here, is calling in about the claim that communism is bad due to human greed. So let's pull Tanis on the line here. Tanis, how are you doing today, friend?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right, I'm doing good.
All right, Tanis, you wanted to talk about communism being bad. Is that correct?
Yeah, mostly just your thoughts on the claim that and also laziness undermine the system functioning.
All right, so my 2 answers to that would be humans are not inherently lazy and humans are not inherently selfish or greedy. These are learned behaviors, and we see this when we look at the way every indigenous tribe behaved prior to colonialization. Indigenous peoples helped each other. Indigenous people worked for the betterment of human good. And I think the big thing is like laziness is bred from our dislike of labor. And that dislike of labor is almost directly tied to capitalism, right? The reason we don't like doing labor, because think about it this way, Tanis, let me ask you a question. You're 18, right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do? Like, what's your favorite hobby or activity?
Science and Dungeons and Dragons.
Science and Dungeons and Dragons. Let's tackle science. Let's say I came up like when you say science, like what's your favorite thing to do in the like science field? Like what do you like the most?
Just learning. My goal is to enter biology if possible.
Now let's say somebody came up to you and said, "Hey, Tanis, our society really needs doctors. They need biologists. They need them for all these different reasons. would you be willing to become a researcher and we'll pay you to research and to study and to learn and all that? What would you say?
Yeah, given that is my goal.
Yeah, and do you think if that was your job, you would dread waking up for work in the morning? Or would you be pretty excited to wake up for work in the morning?
Most likely fairly excited.
Yeah, so one of the things is labor right now is typically like they literally say it all the time. They're like, get a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life, right? That's because labor we literally build it into the system. It's a phrase in the system. Labor is bad. Jobs are bad. Jobs are not fun. Jobs are work. Work is hard. Work is bad. But when you like what you do, work is not those things. There may still be times, right? Like obviously sometimes you're going to be like, oh, damn, this sucks. I didn't want to wake up today. I didn't want blah, 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 blah. But for the most part, you're going to like what you do. Do you think, what's the guy's name that runs that really popular D&D show that everybody loves? Not Brendan Lee Mulligan. I love Brendan Lee Mulligan, so I know Brendan Lee Mulligan. Matt Mercer. You think Matt Mercer dreads going to work? No. He probably loves it. So, so just a reminder, all right, the idea that humans are lazy and that, like, humans are greedy, it's an invention by capitalism to keep us all under the capitalist foothold.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions, Tanis?
Not really.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your day, friend.
You as well.
All right. The call-in lines are now currently closed, I think. Wait, how do we close? There's a way to close the line, but not stop the calls, right? Or am I crazy? Maybe there's not. Let's just we just won't take any more calls. Well, we won't allow anybody to call in, but we do have one more caller before we end the call-ins. This is going to be JT. Now, JT is 19 and would like to talk about Christianity. Oh, okay. JT, want to talk about Christianity? We're just waiting to okay, there we go. Let's take the call. Let's see what JT has to say. Hello, JT. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, JT. Now you want to talk about Christianity. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So, I guess my question to you is that there's a certain Christian that I guess you could say I like and whose beliefs I like. And I was wondering if you would, I don't know, damn.
Sorry.
I guess just say like if you would agree with with his beliefs.
Okay, well, what are those beliefs?
So my liking would be towards the Christian John Brown, the slavery abolitionist from, I think, the 1850s or something, and his views on slavery and how it should be abolished.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with someone on like slavery needing to be abolished. I would just say that like, how do I want to phrase it? I would just say that like Christianity disagrees with him on that.
Okay.
Like if he believes that, that's great. The book definitely doesn't agree with that. The book is like, hey, yo, slavery is based. And let me tell you how you should buy slaves, treat slaves, beat slaves, and make slaves your concubines, basically.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, I don't think You as a Christian can disagree with things in the Bible, right? The only thing you need to be a Christian is you believe that Christ is like your Lord and Savior and you follow Christ, right? You can say, I believe Jesus existed. I believe in everything Jesus taught. I just disbelieve that the Bible was written by God and by God's followers. I think the Bible was written by people who like misconstrued things. Like if that's your stance as a Christian, you're chill with me. I don't care. But if your stance is everything the Bible says is true, we got to trust the Bible 100%. The Bible is what is the law of the land or should be the law of the land, then you have to reconcile with the fact that you believe slavery should exist.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much how it is for me because I come from a family of Protestants, so I don't really believe in the church that much. And as for the Bible, I do have the understanding that that isn't like a real piece of literature written by any god of any sort. It was written by men. And you said that to be a Christian, you just have to believe in Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, yeah. Well, I kind of believe in well, I don't believe Jesus was real in the Christian sense. There might have been somebody like Jesus.
There's pretty, I mean, it's pretty widely believed in like the historian, like by like actual historians, like that there was probably a guy who existed and he was probably named Jesus. The thing that gets a little dicey is the story of the crucifixion and the raising from the dead 2 days later is used in other religions and faiths and like folklore throughout human history. Being a virgin birth, son of the Lord, that's been used before. But like there was probably a dude named Jesus who, what I believe happened is you had a dude named Jesus who was espousing very communist rhetoric, right? Who was basically going, hey guys,
love communism.
Love the poor, give your money away. The government, the Roman government is doing some shitty things. The church is doing things that aren't really for God. God is not actually, what I think the biggest one is like Jesus going, God is not actually angry. He's a loving God. And that guy probably got crucified for believing these things. And then either the church, in a bid to regain control, or his followers, in a bid to make him bigger than he is, stole his body from his grave and then claimed that he rose from the dead.
Okay.
That's what probably happened.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any other questions for me, JT?
Kind of, I guess.
Go ahead.
Well, just before I go on that, so yeah, basically that in order to be like a good Christian, you just have to believe in Jesus Christ specifically, like.
In order to be a good Christian, you have to do what he says that you have to do in the sheep and the goats. In order to just be a Christian,
take
you have
care
to
of
believe
the poor, feed them, and all that. Okay.
Yeah. In order to be a Christian, you just have to believe that Christ is the Lord, the truth, the way, the whatever they say. I think personally, here's what I think. If God is real, if I die and there is a God in heaven, and that God can look at, like, let's say you have two people, and one person does charity, one person consistently helps the poor, consistently helps the downtrodden, does everything in his power to be a good person. And another person is a serial killer. Mm-hmm. And at the end of their lives, the really good person doesn't believe in God, but the serial killer changes and does believe in God. The serial killer's going to heaven, the good person's going to hell. I don't think a God that does that makes any sense worth a damn. I think it's like the most unmake sensible thing ever. And that's part of why I like The Good Place. The Good Place kind of addresses how like you know, it's kind of weird that you can be like morally good your whole life and still end up in the bad place, right? Like it's really. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's low key weird because to me, like the idea of hell as a concept didn't make that much sense to me. Like, like the idea of like you like take away like let's say a cookie jar, right? There's a cookie jar, somebody owns it, you go over and you slip your hand to the cookie jar and take one cookie.
Okay.
And somehow from that decision, you get thrown into a pit of fire and be stabbed with pitchforks by demons.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Makes zero sense, right? Makes less sense than anything I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because for me, like my personal belief is that if there is any sort of afterlife, I think what it should be is just like heaven where, you know, good people hang out at and chill and like play Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare 1 and whatnot. And then bad people just kind of get kicked out.
Yeah.
Sent to like the void or whatever.
Well, I mean, you know, hey, we won't know until we're dead. But
yeah, no, because like once I die, I'm gonna have to drop kick the first celestial being I see because the amount of shit I got thrown at me in my life, somebody needs to get drop kicked.
You know, I think that's a great place to leave off. JT, thank you so much for calling in. We hope to hear from you again soon on the show. Okay, bud?
Okay, thank you.
No
and
problem.
Have a good night.
You too. Well, chat, my lovely chat. Listen, we've had a good show here today, right? I know there was a bit of technical hiccups, okay? We're gonna get all that worked out, okay? I promise you that is not gonna stay. It's only our second show. The Walking Dead was not, well, yeah, The Walking Dead was good on episode 1. What's a show that took Parks and Rec? The entire first season was terrible. The Office? You tell me that first season of The Office is good. You're lying. I skip it. There are so many shows I skip the first 2 seasons of, or the first season of, because I'm like, this isn't good. This is bad. But we, we won't, no show next week. Me and producer Steve will be in Chicago for the Socialism Conference. If you're there and you happen to see me and I'm not engaged in filming of any kind, you know, feel free to say hi. I will have a mask on, as everybody who is at the Socialism Convention will, so you might not know it's me, but if you know it's me, say hello. Everybody else, we'll be back 2 weeks from now for more weekly dump. Go follow us on everything. Next show, we will definitely have a Patreon post show. So if you're not a member of the Patreon, chop, get to it. Otherwise, you don't get to hang out with us post show. I don't know what we're going to do post show, but we're going to figure something out. So listen, thank you guys for watching so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Jovan Bradley, and I still don't have an outro. Catch you later, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.